Trump and the administration just took over Venezuela. And in this video, we're going to react to why they did it with a few videos. Let's get right into it, folks.
What would you assume is the most major threat on the world stage? Anybody, just call it out. You don't have to raise your hand.
Definitely Russia.
Definitely Russia. That's confident. I like it. Who says Russia? Anybody agree with her? Hands? Okay, great. Who else?
China.
Stop yelling at me, but China is a good answer. Anybody? Who else? China?
North Korea?
North Korea. Any North Korea takers? And Venezuela? Anybody? Nope. Oh, yeah. One guy in the back. A little worried about Venezuela. Everybody's cool with Venezuela? No threat? Okay. Let me ask you this. Which one of these places can claim to have the largest oil deposit on the planet? More than Saudi? More than Iran? Wow. Okay. What about things like gold? More than all the mines in Africa combined? The fact is that Venezuela is arguably the single greatest resource of oil and minerals on the planet. So, why is this country in the midst of one of the greatest humanitarian crises in modern history? Let's meet President Nicolas Reyes. After rising to power on a wave of nationalist pride, in a mere 6 years, this guy has crippled the national economy by half. He has raised the poverty rate by almost 400%. Luckily for the rest of us, he's up for re-election. So, who's running against him? This is Gloria Bonalde. Now, Gloria is a history professor turned activist. She's running against him on a social justice platform and on the strength of, in my humble opinion, just not being an asshole. Analyst predictions, as of today, have the chances of Venezuela's total economic collapse at 87%. On the news, they'll call it a crisis. But on the world stage, they'll call it a failed state. If you've never heard that term, other examples of a failed state in recent history are Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. And if that's not bad enough news for you, well, Venezuela is also the only one of these places within 30-minute range from the US of next-gen nuclear missiles. You will not hear about any of this on the news because the biggest players on the world stage do not want you to. To them, unstable governments are nothing more than the greatest of opportunities. So, Russia, China, can never be the most major threat until countries like Venezuela leave the door open to our very own backyard.
So as you guys can see, Venezuela has lots of natural resources. And of course, that is always a reason why the U.S. invades or helps anyone. We have been allies or invaded or helped a lot of people due to natural resources. Iraq, Afghanistan also has large oil reserves. We also help South Korea because, of course, it's close to China and close to North Korea. So if you look at what the U.S. and the government and military is doing, is they are what is called imperializing the world, right? So the goal is to help, and then we're doing it with Ukraine recently. You get what I'm saying? So that's why we interfere, all of that, and try to take over things. So, who knows? Maybe one day Venezuela will be U.S. territory and people will be able to travel there and, back and forth. Because whenever a country takes over another country, they become, like Puerto Rico territory, Guam, U.S., you know how I go, right? So that's something that we need to take heed to and realize that, this could happen, right? So that's just what the U.S. does is, I guess you can call it bullying. I guess you can call it natural resources, whatever, right? But I believe mostly natural resource. In the gold part, pay attention to that part. The gold part, the fact that they have even more gold than some countries in Africa is also alarming. So not just oil, but gold. Two of the largest resources on earth are literally a large player in their country. And from what I've been hearing, they have a very corrupt government. They said a lot of the Venezuelan citizens were happy that this happened. You get what I'm saying? So, maybe people that's of Venezuela would want to be a part of U.S. without having to live in U.S. by us conquering them. So, we're going to see how this all plays out. But one thing I do know is, they could still have a cartel out there, and all of that, or of people who not happy. So, we got to watch out for that too. Let's move on to our next one, and let's get a little bit more perspective on it, okay? And this is from my guy, Tall Guy Tycoon. Shout out to him. Let's talk
Now,
about it.
this is huge news. The U.S. just got pulled into a global tech war, creating a huge opportunity that almost nobody's talking about. Now, listen closely because this is the part most people are going to miss, but not you because you follow me and I'm your unfair advantage in investing. Now, here's the crazy part. Venezuela's President Maduro met with the Chinese government in Venezuela just hours before the U.S. attacked and he was captured. Reports say that China was trying to lock in a deal with Venezuela as allies. They would protect Venezuela in return for minerals and allies. Now, the U.S. may have moved right before that partnership became official. Now, the timing here matters immensely. People think that it's just about Venezuela, that it's just about Maduro, but there's a bigger theme at play, bigger than most people could even imagine. This is about U.S. and China fighting for control of resources, power, and the future. Now, here's what happened. The United States launched a large military strike inside Venezuela. Then President Trump said Venezuela President Maduro and his wife was captured early Saturday morning by Delta Force, America's most elite special operations unit, and flown out of the country. Now, Trump confirmed this publicly, and he said something else that was shocking. He said that we're going to start running the country for now. Now, think about that. The U.S. attacked the country, took his leader, and now we're going to run the country. Some people say this is wrong. Other people say this is outright illegal. Many are saying it's about oil and minerals. Venezuela is not just some other South American country. It's very unique, has massive oil reserves. In fact, the biggest outside of the Middle East. And Venezuela is also known for valuable rare earth minerals. Now, why did the U.S. move now? Very simple, because we're entering a global resource war. And that's why the U.S. is making aggressive moves around energy and mineral-rich regions. These two reasons are why Venezuela matters so much. Oil is still the backbone of global energy. So if the U.S. feels that Venezuela's energy and mineral reserves is going to be poured into China's sphere, the U.S. had a strategic reason to move before that happened. Now, here's the kicker. It's tied directly to that tech war with China. Modern technology is controlled by three things: data, compute, and energy. These are the three pillars. Data controls information and surveillance. Compute controls AI and advanced tech. Energy controls everything: manufacturing, military strength, economic power, and also powers these technologies. Now, but here's the key point. All three depend on rare earth minerals. Rare earth minerals are used in phones, electric cars, AI chips, quantum computers, satellites, fighter jets, weapon systems, and China controls most of the rare earth refining on Earth. That gives China a huge advantage over the world economy. We are seeing right now with the attacks on Venezuela an opening move in a years-long battle that will decide who controls the future, because whoever controls energy and minerals control future tech like AI, quantum computing, and people who understand this shift early can position themselves.
All right, folks. So y'all see it, right? So the big key thing that you guys saw, what he said, was the fact that, you know, whoever controls these rare earth minerals will control or have, you know, the first cut of profits of, everything that has to do with the military, the computers, the AI chips, because you got to think everything that comes from Earth, even this camera that's being shot, has to use rare earth minerals in order to, you know, thrive or work. You get what I'm saying? So when you really think about it, and yes, we are reaching a global crisis, because you got to think like years and years of all these different countries, China, Russia, US, right? And even Europe, exploiting the rare earth minerals in Africa and South America, right? That's just all that's been happening, as well as exploiting their own minerals, right? So now it's time to go get other people's as we reserve ours. So that's what's going on. And to be honest, all of this is out of our control. I personally served the military, and from my perspective of being in, and when I personally was in, that was something that they told us. It doesn't really matter what the reason we're fighting for. We're here to fight. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we signed up for. And Delta Force, salute to them, whoever they are. That's a badass team of individuals. And it's just so dope to know that there's still some Americans who just ain't playing. You get what I'm saying? And when I joined the military, it was really dope to meet these type of people, because I've met special forces people, I've met the snipers and all these type of people. And it was just like, dang, these are regular guys. They don't talk about it and all of that. They're not very loud about it. They can't make social media content. I guarantee it's against their contract. And, they don't want that. But, that's why I love America as a system. And I'm pretty sure some of them are in honey drip, or whatnot. And yeah. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section and everything. I'll be, reading it and replying to the comments and, liking and reacting to them. Let's get into it.